Good afternoon, students. You're welcome to our online class once again. I'm Charles Emmanuel C. This class today is for SS2, a continuation from the last or the previous class we heard, which was conservation of natural resources. Today we are progressively going into this topic, general methods of conservation of resources, not just natural resources this time around. As we said last time, we have two forms of resources, natural resources and man-made resources. So today we are talking about general methods of conservation of resources. Why do I call it general methods? These methods of conservation, we cut across every other methods or forms of taking care of all other substances, be it natural or what, man-made. So today, we have these four methods listed here as follows. Population control methods, educating the masses, legislation method, and finally, by raising game reserves. So what do we mean by when we say population control method as a general method of conservation of our resources? It is obvious. Right from time immemorial, China has remained the most populated country in the whole world. When other countries are in their millions, China is in their billions in terms of population. So China has gone into what we call population control method. Even they've gone into policy. In China these days, there is a specified number of children you will get to. You will stop giving birth to children. If you give birth to more than that, the China enforcement agency will come and arrest you. So now they have it on check. But okay, come to this fact now. Population control. If we do not control our population becomes bloated. And once our population becomes bloated, the number of individuals making use of other resources that most time are not renewable, you now see the more they make use of these resources, the more they deplete those resources without replacement. So the lower the population, the lower the concentration of individuals on these some of these limited resources. So we need to do what? Control our population. Sometimes some countries will do this by subsidizing the cost of contraceptives, giving them out to some individuals free of charge, just to make sure that every family have their own contraceptive, the best one to them. They make sure they have it. So now it can be done by any country in their preferred way. So that is population control method. Then the next one is educating the masses. Just like what we are doing today is one of the things, in fact, is one of the ways of doing what? Bringing it to the notice of students, the importance of this word, conservation. Students are not receiving these lectures, not just for passing classroom examination, passing external examination. It will also be important for them, even when they will become when they become adults and get married. They will use this knowledge they've received here today when they go to the entire world or society at large. They will use this knowledge they've gotten here to make wise use of our natural resources and even the man-made resources. So that is educating the masses. Our educational curriculum planners, they've deemed it necessary. They have to impute it in these awards aspect of subjects so that students will be aware of what is happening, the importance of this very concept. That is it. Then the next one is what it could be done by legislation. You now see that these days our government has come up with the concept of generating some policies and even coming up with some agencies that are responsible for making sure that some of these resources are well kept. In federal government level, you have what we call FEPA, in short, FEPA. We have SEPA, in short, SEPA, Federal Environmental Protection Agency. These are agencies that are responsible for taking care of what? Our environment and things you can see in the environment. State environmental protection agencies. So many states, they have their own. Like in Anambra State here, we have ANSEPA. Anambra State Environmental Protection Agency. These are some of the agencies responsible for taking care of these our natural resources. We also have some agencies taking care of our forest reservoirs. Then these agencies taking care of our forests, they see the affairs of uh, deforestation, so that people will not just go into that very forest and indiscriminately harvest some of the trees that are not yet mature. So, in a bid to avoid that, government has to come up with legislation that has to do what? Put all these things in check. Then the next one is what? You can conserve generally by raising game reserves. So many states, they have their game resource centers. Places like when you go to UNN, University of Nigeria and Soka, they have their own game reserve there, which they call their zoological garden. When you get there, you see some animals, some lions, some chimpanzees kept there just to make sure that they don't go into extinction. These are some of the ways some states and nations are not doing it to make sure that these things are preserved. So now, before we leave this topic, remember we dealt with four methods of words, four methods of conservation of our resources, be it man-made resources or natural resources. Once you imbibe these four things, we are sure that our resources are what? Well preserved and conserved for present and making for the future. So now we have here again method of conserving non-renewable resources. As we said last time, some of these are resources. Some are renewable, some are not renewable. Last time we made mention of the ones that are renewable and the ones that are not renewable. The ones that are not renewable, we made mention of minerals. Minerals are not renewable. Again, we made mention of minerals and crude oils. They are not renewable. But let me just put this in a nutshell. The fact that a resource is not renewable doesn't mean that it cannot be conserved. It can be conserved, but all we are saying is that some resources are renewable, some are not what? Renewable. Now let's move down, seeing how we can do or conserve the non-renewable resources. Okay, we can do this by two methods: by recycling of used substances. When we talk about recycling used substances as a method of conservation of non-renewable resources, you know, I just made mention of some of the substances that are non-renewable in nature. Metals and other minerals are non-renewable. Metals in quotes, you know, is one of these minerals that is used to produce some of our cans, ions, even the aluminiums. And now this is a used can. They use this can to package tin tomatoes. Now, after use, some persons have thrown this thing away. But what we are trying to encourage people here now is this: something like this, to some persons, is a waste. But when we come to this contest, it's not a waste. That drives us to what we call the first law of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics says that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but can be transformed from one trophic level to another level. So this one now has been used. But when we pick this thing, we can return them to metal industries. When we return them back to metal industry, they can recycle this. And when they recycle this, you now see this will be used to mold another metal of its fresh kind. So this is what we call recycling method. So recycling is a process which involves converting a used substance into another useful substance. We call this recycling. So the next method by which we can use to recycle some of these non-renewable resources, because not all non-renewable resources can be recycled, is what? By sourcing for an alternative form of such substances. Some substances you can't recycle them. So what do you do to conserve them? What you can only do to conserve them is you regulate the usage of that particular substance, going for alternative forms, something like crude oil. You know, crude oil, when you do fractional distillation of crude oil, you get petrol, you get your gas, you get your so many things, kerosene. Now, in a bid to manage this thing properly, you have to do what? Instead of making use of kerosene in cooking your food, you go for alternative form that can still assist you to cook your food, which is what? Going for biofuel. That is firewood. You can make use of firewood to cook your food. You can make use of your gas to cook your food. You can make use of your butane gas to cook your food. There are some, even the coal, you can make use of coal to cook your food. There are so many other alternatives you can make use of instead of using kerosene automatic. Every time you want to cook, you only make use of kerosene. No. So we are bringing this into sharp focus. There are some other things you can make use of, which it can now serve as form of what? Conserving that particular non-renewable substances. Remember, we said they are non-renewable. You cannot renew them, just like the way you can renew your forest. If your forest is going into extinction, you just go and get new ones, you plant them, within a shorter period of time, you see them grow again. You can't do that to some of these things. Our minerals, you cannot renew them easily. So on that note, we try to manage the ones we have so that it can be useful and then enough for us for the present, and then ensuring our future. That's the context of this very conservation of natural resources. Remember, don't forget the focus and the objective of this conservation, just to take care of our present and then make room for our future. We might not be here when the future comes. When our children come up, they can still find something to use better than the ones we've used. That's the essence of this conservation. Thank you. See you in our next class. Drop your questions below so that when we come to our next class, we'll still address and equally respond to your questions online. Thank you very much.